Hi, I'm James Williams and this is Chimes Media. With the Union Jack and St George's flag. No hat this time. I've ordered a Make Britain Great Again hat. I'll be wearing that one in the future when it arrives. We're looking forward to that. Okay, so just wanted to talk briefly about enforcement against patriots and loyalists, people who love this country, people who actually have genuine concerns about this country. We see people who complain about really what is going on soon get turned into sort of hate figures by the mainstream media and by the political class and the governing class. You cannot underestimate the power of these people. They have most of the money, they have the media under their control, they have the political establishment, which includes the lawmaking, the law enforcement, under their thumbs to use as and when they choose. And I regard myself as an ordinary citizen, are virtually powerless against them. Now, I've mentioned before that if you're in a crowd, if you're in a demonstration, it's the technology is there and available for the authorities to scan a crowd with a camera and use technological means, or use a computer to pick out all the faces. And an example of that is on the 9th of June 2018, in case this one goes on for centuries. There was a demonstration which I took part in, Free Tommy Robinson event in London, March to Whitehall from Trafalgar Square. There were over 20,000 people took part in that, and it was a pretty good and emotive rally. It was reasonably well behaved, but there were a few people who didn't behave, of course. And then afterwards there was a mass of people who blocked Trafalgar Square after the event. They occupied a tourist bus. It was kind of unseemly. It didn't sort of anyone looking neutrally would think, "Oh, we're not sure about this." Of course, the people who were doing that were a relative minority. Most people were not doing that, and I suspect as well one or two that stood on top of the bus. One of them had a Trump mask on or something. Anyway, I suspect they had a few beers in them before they did that. But nevertheless, it didn't sort of set a good image for the movement. I can understand it entirely, and quite courageous or foolish, whatever you like to call it, that's what it was. But I understand that those people, although nothing really happened at the time, I think there might have been 4 or 5 arrests, those people that took part in that after protest were singled out and were arrested. They identified them using technology, using cameras, and went round to their places and hauled them out. And this is how it goes. The authorities tend not to attack when there's a mass of you, unless they heavily outnumber you. They go for when you're quiet at home on your own. That's what happened to Tommy Robinson. He was out in the street reporting outside Leeds Crown Court, minding his own business, not really reporting anything newsworthy, but that wasn't already in the news. And then he gets picked up and arrested because he is on his own. Well, we can't be in a crowd all the time. But what I'm trying to say is, the message is they can come for you at any time. Well, I know the defence, I've heard it before. It says, well, I'm not going to do anything wrong. Why should they pick on me? If I keep out of trouble, why should they pick on me? And, well, just because you don't do anything wrong doesn't mean to say they won't find something wrong to fit on you. I remember a guy, this is 2014, who was walking across Waterloo station in London, and he bumped into a woman just in an accident, and people are always milling around there, so it's not difficult to do that. And a few days later they came and arrested him, and he was charged with rape, sexual assault of this woman. The contact he had with her was half a second. And in that time, he was supposed to have thrown his fingers up inside her and had a good grope, and that was it. The evidence was non-existent, basically. She couldn't even identify him in a parade, right? and the description that was given was completely different. And the camera, the film footage, is a series of still photographs. Waterloo Station couldn't show anything really, couldn't prove anything. But what they did is the police or whoever it was inserted extra frames. So instead of being a half a second contact, it was a 3-second contact according to their evidence. So they basically manipulated the evidence. But it gave him hell. He had hell for, I mean, his life was, he was just an ordinary guy. He did that sort of 4 times a week. And then his life was just transformed into a mass of stress, worry, malevolence pointed at him, because if you get accused of a sexual crime of any sort, whether you're totally innocent or totally guilty, you suffer the consequences and it lives with you forever. But that's how authorities can work. Somebody minding his own business, and that he got picked out like that. Amy from Brighton, I don't use her second name, a few weeks ago, she was wrestled to the ground in her flat. She's a woman with a stick, a walking stick, because she was confronted by some lefty lout in a car park who came up to her threateningly. She pushed him away, and then she said, "Have a gay day." And because of that, she got arrested for hate crime and charged. That's how they can do it. You can be framed very easily. I had an attack on me in Trafalgar Square that same March. I was filming independently. I think I only had one badge, which is Justice for Our 3 Boys, and I had no others insignia. I had no Union Jacks or anything else. And this guy with a Labour badge came up to me and tried to stop my camera and tried to swipe my camera as well, And that to me was an assault. Then he had the audacity to say, "Don't touch me." And he was the one doing the attacking. But that's how they are. So somewhere, I could find that myself weeks down the road being accused of all kinds of things, and then you don't even remember it because you think, well, it was a nothing. Those things can happen. So when people come out and say, well, I'm not going to get involved in these things won't happen to me, you're just basically grazing cattle, waiting to be picked on by a lion or whatever monster that comes along to feed off you. It can happen quite simply to anybody. Nowadays they can do anything, and they will fit up the evidence to make sure that their claims against you, their accusations against you, fit. The other thing is, of course, it's not just the police you have to worry about. There's also at your workplace. There's a number of cases now where people get doxed, which is a term used to describe doing research on you and totally publishing all your personal details, not just simply where you live, all your relationships, anything they can find out about you. But they go a bit further than that. They go further than that. The people now are getting sacked or suspended or whatever they're doing because they get their employers contacted. And they say, "Do you realise you've got a Nazi, racist, bigot working for you?" And unfortunately, that's the case of things. I found myself my work. I won't say where it was. My prospects of promotion were suppressed without explanation. But it just so coincided that I was doing videos. I was doing radio shows for Men's Matters, which was highlighting the problems that men have in society, and hopefully sometime in the future we'll bring that back. I got a lot of censorship in doing it. It was very, very difficult to get the programme out. It had to be pre-recorded and vetted and everything else, and then they'd chop bits out. But I was grateful to the radio station to give me any opportunity at all. But I had to stop it because of problems at work and all kinds of things. But going back to my point, I'm not going to do anything wrong. Therefore I'm okay. That is living with your head in the sand. If one person, or 5 people, or 10 people, just one person gets some kind of threat or arrest or penalty or some kind of punitive action against them by authorities or untoward phone calls to their employer, that can happen to any of us at any time. please do get involved in whatever you need to get involved in, but show your colours, because our right to complain is spiralling down the plug hole, and we need to stop this before we cannot say anything at all. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourself.